I'm just going to close my door.
All right, here we go. Oh yeah, Dave, are you ready for this? It's gonna be a good time.
Of course I'm ready. I was born ready, definitely. I was born ready.
Yes, and I know everybody, the floodgates are open. Everybody's still coming in.
Right.
But I know that we have a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to dive in here. And yes, and this is a great, and it's the evening for Dave, the morning for me. So I've got my caffeine going, and Dave is almost done with the day. So this is just a perfect time, just a great webinar time. So
yeah, it's not too bad. It's 4 o'clock here, so it's kids coming home from school time. That's what it is. So one's already upstairs. Just to let you know, another one may arrive during the session, but
it's all right.
He knows the deal. He knows the deal. Yeah.
We'll bring him in as a guest speaker.
Yeah, why not? He probably knows as much as I do, to be honest.
He's heard so much, at this point. So well, no, it's great. Well, we're living in the Zoom time, so it's just making it real. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I think he's heard every meeting and briefing I've had in the last 2 years. So I think when we were in lockdown, he heard every briefing. So he could actually probably could come on and do this.
Oh yeah, maybe next year's sales workshop. We have
definitely
Dave Pope's
sometimes he pops up behind me. I don't think he will today, but sometimes he does do a little wave behind me.
A little wave. We'll look out. We'll all watch for it.
Definitely.
I just want to welcome everybody to this webinar and welcome Dave. We are so excited to have you. And if you guys were on the sales workshop last year, Dave is a repeat webinar. So we had him on here last year. We just had to bring you back. We couldn't resist.
Yeah, I thought it was 2 years for some reason.
It feels like it's been 2 years.
A year. Well, a lot's happened, hasn't it? A lot's happened.
So much has happened. It is so crazy. Yes. And that actually brings me into a good, if this is your first time joining us for a sales workshop webinar, welcome. And we did start it last year, which to me, it feels like it was 2 years ago. And we really started it as, a virtual kind of conference of, let's get ready for the travel comeback and how do we navigate the pandemic and all of this. And then we were like, you know what? This is just an every year thing, but we're still navigating similar territory, but things are looking good. They're looking up. So,
absolutely. I think the comeback was a little slower than we expected, but and I'll mention that the comeback is back. And there's a lot of positivity out there, which I'll talk about. And we'll talk about how things have changed and customers and the industry, and how we have to change as well, how we have to adapt and change to make up for lost time.
Oh, I know. Yeah, to make up so much lost time. And real quick too, before I hand it over to you, Dave, because I know I'm so excited to chat about everything. One thing though a couple of housekeeping things that I want to mention though during this is this webinar session is being recorded. And also the big thing is this is the first webinar of the last day. We're already 3 days. This was so fast. So welcome to the last webinar session. We do have one more after this as well with Cindy Williams in a couple hours after this. So if you want to register for that, just go to academy.travify.com and register. And then at the end this evening, and sorry, Dave, it'll be like 11 p.m. for you, but we have trivia happy hour. So Dave, if you want to join, it'll be a late night, but
I like the sound of the happy hour and the trivia. Can't promise I'll still be around at 11 p.m.
It's okay. It's a late night and it's the middle of the week, so we totally get it. But it'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll have travel trivia and there'll be prizes. Nice. Oh, it's going to be a really good time. Yeah. So so definitely everyone register for that if you want to join us. The other thing too is that if you do have any questions for Dave, feel free to put those in the question box or in the chat, and I'll be watching for them. That way, if we do have time at the end for questions, we can pick Dave's brain.
Definitely.
Yeah, so definitely.
If they're hard questions, I'll pass them over to my 7-year-old son. If they're hard questions, I'll do the easy ones. My son will do the hard ones. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, so any hard ones, I'll let you know ahead of time. But like, this could be a hard one.
Absolutely,
it's perfect. But let me introduce to you, Dave. So I know if you have seen the webinar from last year, you might know who Dave is. But just to give you a little bit of background, Dave Pope is a travel industry veteran of over 25 years. He's experienced a progressive career rising from commission-based sales to director level positions with some of UK's leading travel organizations. And he's also been involved in business startup and transformation through effective training and consultancy, as well as e-learning technology. So, you're going to learn something here today. So thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for joining us here again.
I didn't realize I'd done so much.
You've done so much, yes.
A lot, haven't I? I must be really old, you know?
Just so young. You've just done so much in a short amount of time.
Yeah, started when I was really young, yeah.
Yeah, and that's awesome. We're excited to have you, and I'll let you share
Right.
your screen, and I'll get you set
Yeah,
up
of course.
here. So then that way, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
let you take it away.
here's something I made earlier.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna put that up.
Okay,
All
do
right.
we have vision? Do we have vision?
Yep, you are all good. All good to go.
Good, thank you very much, Stephanie. Great to be back. And as I was talking to Stephanie earlier, I thought it was 2 years, but it's actually a year. But whether it's 1 year or 2 years, time has gone so quickly. Probably doesn't seem like it during recent times. But my presentation today is all about why at the moment it's a great time to work in travel. You may not think that, but now is a great time to be working in the travel industry. But first, and we need to do this, we need to do a big virtual round of applause to yourself, because if you're working in the travel industry now and you've worked through the last couple of years during the tough times we've had, give yourself a round of applause, give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate the fact that you're still here working in the industry that we love. So that's the first thing we need to do.
Do you like that?
There we go. A bit of applause.
I
love
have
that.
sound effects.
I love the sound effects, but that's true. We should applaud and we should celebrate. It's been tough times. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, because it has been a tough couple of years. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but the last, I don't know, 18 months, nearly 2 years now, has been a challenging time for people traveling, for the industry where, you know, people stopped traveling, you know, and then there were sort of fits and starts where people were traveling and then they couldn't travel. And, you know, especially in the UK, we had a traffic light system where you could go to a country and then while you're away, you were told to come home. So what it really did was affect not just customer confidence, but also consultant confidence. So those people that are working in the industry lost their confidence, or what a lot of people said to me, they'd lost their mojo. So that's, well, not completely in the past, because things are, you know, we're not out of the woods by any means, but people are traveling. You know, where I work, September was the best trading month of the year. And that's great. It isn't normally, but that's a great sign that the confidence is coming back into the market. One of those, one of the big confidence boosters was people from the UK being able to go to the US again, which is a massive destination. So that real confidence coming back in. So let's just address the elephant in the room, but let's just wave goodbye to the elephant in the room. One thing I'd say, and those of you that watched, if there's anyone that watched my presentation last year, that was pretty much more about sales flow from beginning to end. Today, it's more about how I see things have changed, both customers, how the industry's changed, and how we have to adapt, and how customers' buying habits have changed. So one of the first things I'm going to say to everybody is, let's get out of COVID mode. And what I mean is that's a mindset, attitude point of view, thinking that no one's going to travel or nobody wants to book. Because there are three types of customer out there. One is that people will flatly say, no, I don't want to travel at the moment. And we need to respect that, but we stay in touch. There are people who will say, yes, just get me on a plane. Then it's about finding the right thing. And there are people that are on the fence. Some people that think they don't want to travel until you put something in front of them that's amazing. And how we do that, we'll talk about that a bit later. So I have a phrase here in the UK that I say, well, stop hiding under the stairs. Stop hiding under the duvet, under the covers. And remember why you work in this industry. Remember why you decided to work in the travel industry. The product is amazing. It's great to talk about travel, about destinations and airlines. It's great. But for so many years now, travel has been seen as a soft sale industry. I know people that are great at giving out brochures, but don't take it any further. So we've got to recapture that passion about why we want to sell travel. And I use the word sell. So we're not, well, partly we're information givers, but it's about taking customers from the beginning to the end of a sales flow and then back again. Towards the end of this presentation, I have one of my top tips for you, one of the best sales calls that you will ever make. So let's all agree that we're going to get out of COVID mode, get the elephant out of the front room. So why is it a great time right now to be a travel consultant? Now, I use the word travel consultant deliberately because some people see yourselves as travel agents. But here's the first shift change that we need to do today. A consultant, I like a dictionary. Yeah? I'm an interesting type of guy. I like dictionary definitions. A consultant is someone that gets paid for giving professional advice. So we have to see ourselves as similar as other industries, solicitors, personal trainers, lawyers, anybody. Think about your worth, and I'm going to address that in a minute. And by the way, that's not a picture of me in the 1970s. I know you're thinking that must be Dave when he was younger, but it's not. It's a picture I found. So first of all, the travel industry has had a detox. What do I mean by a detox? Well, a few things. First of all, the industry wasn't expecting a pandemic, a global pandemic. Nobody knew what to do. No one had a clue. You know, the first couple of years were great trading, peak season. We're doing fantastic. We were X amount ahead of last year. But then the pandemic hit and nobody knew what to do. No one has a plan. No one creates a plan for dealing with the pandemic. And all of a sudden, bookings dried up. Admin went through the roof. But what's come out of that is that the industry, in my opinion, for many years, the industry's been very inflexible, hard to change something, you know, changing a name on a flight or changing the date or God forsake, changing a destination or canceling was prohibitive for customers because it was costly. So it stopped them doing it. But so what's happened in the industry, and it's been forced, is that suppliers now have much more flexible terms for customers. So that's great change for the industry. And I hope, and I know that will continue. But what the industry also has to do is improve their service. They've had to be more visible to their customers. And I'll talk about online, you know, booking holidays online in a minute. They've had to improve the service and the way they communicate with their customers has had to change. I'll talk a bit later about how we communicate and how we need to have a revolution in the way we communicate. We're going to go backwards, we're going to go forwards. Because the type of communication we choose to use is key to the success of a conversation or a sales flow. No more selling by email or selling by text. But also the industry and suppliers and companies within it need to now really value their customer. Because we've got 2 years to make up, a one-off booking with a customer isn't going to be enough to rebuild that business. Customer retention and customer care is absolute paramount to future success. And also, it's a bit like a drill in a way, is that companies now are better prepared for, and I'm touching wood, that it happened again. They'll be better prepared. So they're keeping an eye on not just what's coming into a business, it's what's going out the other side. Companies are more leaner. So the travel industry has had a detox. But also, you'll get a theme here. Detox is popular. Your customer has also had a detox. Different type of detox, as you can see. More vegetables and fruit. But yes, your customer has had a detox. Customers' buying habits have changed. And your role has changed. We'll talk about that in a second. But buying habits, customers have changed. There's a few different ways that's happened. And building on from what I said about suppliers, the customers demand more flexibility. They want to be able to change. They want to be able to cancel. They want to be able to move to another date or a different destination. And now that is here. Suppliers have got that flexibility, but it's also driven by the customer. So what are your cancellation policies? What if something happens? Now that was sort of already there, but not as much as it is now. So not just from a flexibility point of view, customers need you more than ever. They need a travel consultant more than ever. Why is that? They need hand-holding. Yeah, they need advice. Not just advice about where to travel and where to go on holiday, but they need advice about regulations, about entry requirements and vaccinations and all those sort of things. They need advice. It's not easily accessible. It's not easy to say, is it? It's not easily accessible online. They want to hear it from someone. So many of my friends, not a lot of my friends, some of my friends have booked holidays online and then called me to give them advice. That's not how it works, guys. That's not how it works. They want recommendations. They've always want recommendations, but now they want recommendations about where to go to make it easier for them. One of the biggest things they need encouragement or reassurance that traveling is okay. It's what if this happened? What if that happened? So one of our jobs now is to really reassure customers, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail. They want hand-holding. They want your support. Does anyone ever, I don't know if everyone does this, especially in the States, is that on Christmas Eve in the UK, we track Santa. Yeah, we track Santa. So on Christmas Eve, the kids go onto this website and you can see where Santa is in the world. He may be in Russia, he may be in Italy, he may be in Dubai, but you can see how close he's getting to your country. The kids love it. So that's one of the things that we say to our customers, that if they're unsure about whether they should work with us, it's like, do you track Santa on Christmas Eve? Well, that's how I work with my customers. I can see where they are in the world and I breathe easily when they come home. But also buying habits have changed in a different way. And that's with the type of holidays that people are buying. Because of lockdowns and people being not being able to travel, first of all, they've saved some money. So don't spend money on the extension or the garden. Spend the money. So what we've found is that people are having those holidays of a lifetime. They are booking those trips, those flights of fantasy. Because also, and as families and individuals, I think we've all had a bit of a detox. Because you've been confined or in lockdown, you start thinking more, don't you? You start valuing your existence more. I've got to do that. I've got to travel now. What if? And that's true. So people are spending more money. That's been proven in the figures, in the sales that I've seen. So it's capturing those people. And one of the words that I use is escapism. It's a great word to use when you're talking about travel. It's not just to travel. I tend to use the word travel rather than holiday. Travel is to experience. So escapism is a great word to use with travel. So buying habits have changed and customers have changed. What I've also found is less people are buying holidays online. Let's be honest, some of the time it's cheaper to book a holiday online. But that's not enough, because booking online is not, I mean, it's not too bad if it's just a point-to-point flight or one night in a hotel. But if you're trying to book a holiday online, that's fine at the beginning. You may save yourself a few dollars or a few pounds. But in the long run, it's a short-sighted vision, because it's only when things go wrong or you need some help and support that you can't get hold of anybody. You can't get hold of anyone to help you. The link has broken. I've booked something right. Go, I hope now nothing goes wrong, because you can't get hold of anyone. It's the same as companies that have a 9-to-5 existence. If something happens at 1 minute past 5, I've got no support. I spent several hours on Twitter one night during the main part of the pandemic, helping people that had booked online. They wanted support. I spent 2 or 3 hours helping people that had booked with 3 or 4 companies, and they were trending for the wrong reason on Twitter. So a lot less people now are booking online because they want the support. And you know what? They will pay a bit extra to get it. But also, let's be honest, especially here in the UK, some customers have had a holiday that they didn't really want. Because they couldn't fly away, they maybe wanted to go to Greece or Italy or Turkey or Dubai or even New York or Miami. But because they couldn't, they had to compromise, because people will still have their week off. So maybe, this is going to be terrible for the caravan industry, but maybe they did settle for a caravan somewhere, but it wasn't really what they want. Maybe they paid 3 or 4 times as much as they should have done, and that isn't actually the caravan they stayed in. But you know what I'm trying to say. So some people went to a holiday. Now they've had that holiday, they come back from that holiday in the school holidays in August, and it hasn't really worked for them. It's not really what I want. I was supposed to be going to Dubai in May. It was cancelled. So I went on a what you call a seacation, a cruise around the UK. It wasn't really what I wanted. It was fine, but you come back and go, oh, I haven't really had the experience. So your desire level goes back up again. Some people didn't manage to get away at all. Hence the guy in the paddling pool in his lounge. So there is so much desire, or what we call pent-up demand, for people to travel at the moment. And if we understand that, we can understand how we can work with these customers. So let's talk about you. Your value as a travel consultant has soared. Your value, whether you're working on a salary or working on commission only, your value has increased because people need you more than ever. They don't know it yet. They don't know that until you tell them. But one of the reasons that you have this extra value, and I would always, whatever you're doing or wherever you work, put an hourly rate. What are you worth an hour? What's your hourly rate? If you were to press a meter, like a taxi meter, before you spoke to a customer, what would it say? So you've got your finger on the pulse now, the finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. And I don't just mean where to find the great offers, but a finger on the pulse, which means you know where people can go. You know what they have to do to get there or get back. You know the regulations and rules. But also, you're more available and visible than an online company, because the way we communicate will dictate that, which we'll talk about in a minute. And there's 3 key words that I use. How I sort of see a travel agent or travel consultant. 3 key things. 1, you're an advisor. You give advice about where to go, how to do it, and everything else. But also you help people navigate through an ever-changing travel landscape. There's a free phrase that you can use. I help you navigate through an ever-changing, I can't even say it, ever-changing travel landscape. But also part of what you do is as a counselor, because sometimes things don't go wrong. Things don't go right. Things will change. Sometimes things get cancelled. So sometimes an element of counseling. But right now, customers need you more than ever. They just don't know it yet until we tell them. But we've talked about how the industry's changed, and we've talked about how customers have also changed. They've both had detox, but you also, and we as an industry, as consultants and agents, we've also got to change, because if we carry on doing what we did before the pandemic and working how we were working, it's going to take us longer to catch up. So there's a few things that I will say that where I see how you need to change. Probably relates to life in general as well. what I'd say is be braver. And whether that is the way you promote the business, the way you speak to your customers, or how you approach your day and how you plan, be braver with it. An example of that, if you're involved in marketing, you're involved in sales, sometimes people use social media, but make a change, record a video, go on Facebook Live, create a webinar or a virtual conference. Be braver and step out, because it's very true. When you step out of that comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. And the way that we communicate with customers is be more assertive. I don't mean being pushy. Be more assertive and assumptive. That's again, don't be an order taker. That sounds fine, but I've got a great idea for you. How about this? Yes, I know it may cost a little bit more, but look at it, it's fantastic. And assume that people want to buy from you. Instead of just being afraid of no and just emailing out proposals or quotations, be braver with the close. Why don't we book this today to lock in the price? I'm a bit concerned about how many rooms are left. Let's book it now before somebody else does. So being more assumptive and assertive, how would you like to pay? And assertive is just guiding and taking the customers on a journey. For example, if you are following up, you may have said in the past, I'm going to email you a proposal. Give me a call when you're ready to book. But you may say, before I send this proposal to you, let's get a date in the diary where we can talk about it. How about tomorrow at 4? So again, that's not pushy, that's just assertive. But also what we have to do is make up for lost time. 18 months or 2 years, we've got to make up for the lost time. So we've got to be braver with how we do that. Also, for some people, we'll need to make up for lost earnings, especially if you work, excuse me, I have an itchy nose. Make up for lost earnings, businesses, individuals. I've got some time to make up and some turnover to make up. And as I said earlier, be more consultant rather than agent. Consultant is someone that gets paid for giving professional advice. And right now, today, have your own detox. Look at how you work. Look at how you run your week, the way you communicate, the way you plan your day. Have your own detox. I think in lockdown, a lot of families, including mine, had financial detoxes, looking at what you spent money on and asking why. How can we change it? How can we improve that? Having a detox with fitness. I've got to be fitter. I do actually. Having a fitness detox, it's great fun. And again, that will contribute to your business success. One thing we have to do in our sales flow, which is really, really key, and this has always been there, but now there's more emphasis on it, is that we actually have to put the customer on holiday. What I mean is we're selling something that isn't tangible. If you're selling a car, you can get in and drive it around the block. You can feel the engine, the acceleration, the comfort. It's great. The guy that's selling the car has a captive audience. Same when you're buying a house. You go in, you experience the feel of a house. But with holidays, you can't try before you buy. Although that's an interesting concept. But now where customers sometimes customers are a bit reluctant to travel because of what's happened, you've got to pick up on holiday. And what I mean by that is, if you look at that picture that's on the screen right now, just have a bit of silence and think, can you hear the sound from that picture? What can you hear? I can hear the waves. I can hear the wind behind me. I might hear someone on a beach bar clinking a glass. There may be a plane flying overhead. That's what you have to create, is putting someone on that beach. Well, as long as they're going on a beach holiday, don't put them there if they want to go skiing, but putting them on holiday. And that comes with the words that we use and how we describe the holiday. Imagine yourself there. this looks beautiful. I wish it was me going. You know, it's really getting involved in the way, and the rapport and the relationship building is so key. But too many people just are too sort of reactive to that sort of thing. So putting your customer on holiday is key. And one thing that we have to think about as well over the last 18, 20 months is, I can't normally say the word, it begins with D. I don't know if you know what word it is. I have a medical condition which prevents me from saying the D word. It ends in T. But what I call it is stop giving money away. Stop giving money away. Now, today, remember what you're worth. Because I think some people expect a discount. There, I said the word. Some people expect us to take money off. And I'll give you a comparison in a minute to other industries, but also think about playing a bit more hardball, really justifying the value in something and why you're worth it. Because you are part of the package too, an important part of the package. So one thing I want to give you, in the sales flow, one of the best sales calls you will ever make is a welcome home. The welcome home call is one of the most important sales calls you ever make. So if you're in the market of selling holidays, when you book someone's holiday, the first thing you do after you booked and take the money, of course, you put in your diary a call 4 days after the customer gets back. And it has to be a call. Someone said to me once, oh, I send my customers welcome home cards. And I said to them, what do those cards talk? Are they talking cards? Because now where customer retention is so important, this is key. Because if customers come back from holiday, and it has to be 4 days, people have to go to the laundrette and the supermarket. Because the desire level is high and they want to talk about it. It's great service, but also this is key to your retention strategy. So in your company, 100% of people that go away should have a welcome home call, because this stops them going to other companies. Your competitors won't do it. Well, they might today. Competitors won't do it. And there's two reasons you do it. One is you ask two questions. The first question is, how was your holiday, Dave? Tell me about it. And then you're going to sit and listen. And one of the reluctance to do it is people will say, well, what if they've had a bad time? Well, that's where it's most important to do it, because you fix it. So the first question is, how was your holiday? Second question is, where can I send you next? That's how it works. So the average person goes away 3.5 times a year. I don't know how you have half a holiday, but they do. The numbers don't lie. So then you start the process again. But also you take that a step further. If you've had inquiries from people that then go and book with another company, they're the ones that you also need to follow up when they come home. Nobody does that. So the welcome home call is the best sales call you will ever make. And just to finish off today, we need to start a revolution. Anybody up for starting a revolution? We can do it today. And that revolution to me is all about the way we communicate. Because it's changed, it's changing. But in some ways we have to go back a bit. Because how we communicate sometimes these days is a bit lazy. It's because we're not brave enough. I see a lot of people sending texts or Facebook messages or emails because they're afraid to talk to someone. Oh yes, WhatsApp and Facebook have their use. Although wasn't it great when they went down the other night for 6 hours? What did you do? I had some quiet time. But you realize how dependent you are on it, and it's a little bit addictive. They have their uses, but it's not a great way of creating rapport and relationship. So what a lot of people now are doing is they're going back to how we used to communicate. We used to phone people. We used to talk. It gives tonality. It gives feeling. But people tend to be afraid of a telephone these days. But also what has been positive from the COVID period is Zoom. Well, not just Zoom, but there's other other ways of communicating like eCam today. But Zoom is a thing now, it's not going away. A lot of us were using Zoom before this, but now people love to Zoom. People love to Zoom. Remember all those Zoom quizzes you might have done in lockdown? But Zoom now is a preferred method to speak to customers. If you can't go and sit across a table with them, Zoom. It would increase your chances of converting by about 20% because you've got eye contact, body language, and it's hardest to say no when you're talking to someone face to face. And then sitting down with someone in an office, in a restaurant, in a bar, wherever, talking to someone in real life is the best way to communicate. So before you do something with a customer, think about, if I called them or had a Zoom meeting with them, what better effect would it have on my sales flow? Could I go and see them? Because if you escalate the way we communicate, it will bring great rewards. Wasn't sure whether to put this slide in there, but hey, I have. Too many companies celebrate how many likes they have, how many Facebook likes they have. It doesn't have to be Facebook, any social media. It's like, great, I've got 6,000 likes. But you know what? A like is not a form of currency. If you have 400 or 500 people that like your Facebook page, you're just communicating with a like and a smiley face. I have people that I haven't spoken to for 16 years still like pictures of my kids on Facebook. But the other week, I actually messaged someone and said, I'd known someone for 40 years and we haven't spoken for 16 years. I said, this is a ridiculous way of communicating. Let's do what we used to do and have a phone call. Or would you like a Zoom? I'd love to Zoom, Dave. That's how it's worked. We've got to go back and talk like we used to, not just in friendship, but in business, in sales. It's so key. So if you go to your bank manager and says, I like to pay my mortgage with likes, they'll laugh. So a like is not a form of currency. So if you have people that you communicate, customers especially, on social media, have a good old fashioned call with them or have a Zoom with them. Offer a Zoom. Much better for your sales flow. Appreciate the value of what you do. Here's an example. So when you have your hair cut in a barber's or a hairdresser's, you tend to pay more money than it actually costs. If something costs, I don't know, £15 or $15, you sometimes might give them 20. It's £15. Oh, here, I have 20. They haven't asked for it, you give them a tip. Same in restaurants or bars. It's £65. Oh, here's 80. Have 80. £65. Taxis or Uber. Again, we always pay more. So why in travel do we take money off? Because we're not worth it. We are worth it. So always think twice about taking money off the actual cost. And with that, Stephanie, brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope that was okay. And I'm just going to leave you there with a Nelson Mandela quote. And you can read it on the screen. I don't need to read it out. But it's about resilience. It's like getting back on the horse and going again, but going better, going harder, and just keep evaluating what we do. Always look back at the week before, look at what happened, look at the results you've had, and then look about how you can change it up again. So always keep evaluating. Stephanie, I hope you're still there, and I hope you haven't fallen asleep.
No, that was amazing. Here, I'm going to, let's set you up here again. There we go. We're back.
Where are we? No, I'm back. You
can see yourself. Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. What a great way. That was such a good way to just start the last day of sales workshop. Oh my gosh. So motivated. So great. So many people said, this is so good. I have to tell you, one person said, I'm going to keep this recording for my down days because it's so motivating.
Yeah. And that's what it's about. I think, we all have down days, and I think sometimes it's how you pick yourself up. I love music, and I think sometimes if you play a certain type of music, it can pick you up. getting some fresh air, going for a walk, looking at a great picture or whatever. But you're right. In this industry, it has been a bit of a roller coaster. But now we're on a certain part of the roller coaster where we can put our hands up again and enjoy it. You know? Do you
I
remember?
love that.
I'm not a fan of roller coasters, but I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, well, let's pretend. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, and some questions did come into.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, someone just said that's a great analogy. That is a good one. I love that.
Mm.
So okay, going back to because I'm gonna start off with talking about your number one tip of the call, because there were a couple questions that came in. So the first
Welcome
one.
home.
Yep, the welcome home call. Yeah. So the first one is from Jean Ann, and she asked, how many days after return should you make the call?
Yeah, I say 4 days, because if you ring someone on the day they arrive, they're too busy. The first thing I do when I get home, I go to the laundrette. I take all the family clothes to the laundrette because there's too many loads to put on. Then the next thing you do is you'll go to the supermarket, probably the next day, because the first day you get home, you never cook. You always eat out. Next day, go to the supermarket. So I would say 4 days. But what I would do to put the stick in the ground is when you book the holiday for the customer, tell them then, say, right, I'd love to have a catch up with you when you get home. But it has to be a call. But yeah, I think 4 days is about right. No more than 4. But and it has to be genuinely, it is a welcome home call, but it's also a sales call. Just diarize it.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Well, it's just part of the process. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm in
It
there.
is. It's part of the sales flow. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so another question on that is, what should you do if you call and they don't answer the phone? Should you call them back? If so, how many days should you wait? What would you say is?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say I wouldn't, again, you don't want to be overly pushy, but I'd make one call, but I would always leave a message. I think that's the key thing some people don't do. They'll ring and there's no answer. They hang up. One of the most important is leave a message. Hi, it's Dave here, ringing from X Travel. Just rung up to listen and hear all about your holiday. So, give us a call, send us a message, let me know when you're free. Let's put some time to talk. And then I'd probably just try every day, And if not, maybe send a WhatsApp. That's when WhatsApp can be useful, is say, look, love to catch up with you about your holiday. Let us know when you're free. So you can again, mix up the way you communicate.
Yeah. Somebody I literally just said when you said that, can you text if their message is full? Because that's true. It could be full.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. That is
I'm a fan of WhatsApp. I'm a fan of WhatsApp because is one thing. People read 98% of their WhatsApps, and they check WhatsApps on average 23 times a day.
Whoa.
There you go. So
interesting. It's easy.
And people, I don't look at text anymore. It's all WhatsApp, So, and again, emails are cop out. Emails only for sending data.
Yeah.
Only for emailing is data. But it has to be the 2 questions. How was it? Because when everyone watching this knows this. When you're on holiday, there will be a time on holiday that you will talk about your next holiday, because that's when you get downtime. It's like, wow, you sat there. Where should we go next?
Yep.
Because sometimes that's the only time you get to talk about it.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I love that. So moving to some questions, just kind of talking about the time with COVID and the pandemic, because at the beginning, we're talking about the elephant in the room. So a couple of people had different questions. One was, do you have any tips for when you're talking to clients who are on the fence due to COVID?
Yeah, exactly. It's very common, because some people are uncertain. One of the things I tend to use is what I call social proof. So, for example, I traveled to Spain a few weeks ago. Sorry, I froze then. I traveled to Spain a few weeks ago. So when you reassure people, like I did this, and this is how it worked, and give people tips on how to do it. Like one of my tips was printing things out, like we did in the old days. But when you assure people that I've done it, there's quite a few of my customers have done it, and they found this. So when you sort of reassure people that other people are doing it, I think that helps, so real social proof, but also giving those top tips on what to do. Because when I traveled, there were so many people that had their forms on their phone, but couldn't find them and couldn't get any internet or their batteries are run down. So one of my tips is take time out to look at what you have to do and print stuff. But I find social proof works really well, Stephanie. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And another question here. Well, so this is also kind of in the same vein of that
Hmm.
is, are there any certain ways that you communicate? Basically, this person asks, how do you advise of like entry rules or restrictions without being
Yeah.
held accountable? Or would you say just it's your responsibility, but you're also trying to reassure them? So,
Yeah. It's a bit of both, really. And it is the customer's responsibility. But as a travel consultant, we're here to support them with that. So I'll point them. I might share, if I can get them on a Zoom, I'll share my screen so we can talk through it together. So if we can go onto the government website or wherever the regulations are. But to say to someone, oh, it's your problem, then they're not going to book with you. So, right, okay, let's look at it together. Because sometimes they do need 3 or 4 sort of read throughs. But I think if you can point them in the right direction, but talk through it together, I find, and also then you say to someone, right, why don't we jump on a Zoom call and we can share the screen? And that's a real benefit for them to do that. Right, now I've got you. Let's talk about it. So I think, yeah, I would, yeah, it is their responsibility, but giving the right advice is important.
yeah. Oh, that is such a great idea to do,
Mm,
where it's an easy way to say, let's get on a screen share,
yeah.
but it also lets them know that,
Mm,
hey, this is where you go. Like I'm looking at the same thing you
yeah.
are.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You're
that's
right. And I think whenever, I mean, Zoom is so good for sales because you can screen share. You can screen share a picture, the pictures that I've just shared. You can share pictures of a hotel room, of a first class flight seat, or, you can share those pictures, or, you can do that.
yeah, absolutely. No, it's perfect. Just had to go there because we are living in that time. So
Yeah,
it's there.
absolutely. That's fine.
It is. But I do have a couple sales specific questions for you.
Yeah, of course.
And then we can round it out here. So the first one is, what do you think is the biggest mistake that travel consultants, I'm going to say travel consultants. I love that, how you
Yeah.
break down that
Yeah.
term, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think one of the biggest mistakes is that they make during the sales process?
Yeah, I'll pick out, there probably isn't just one, there's 2 or 3. One, I would say at the beginning, is fully evaluating customers' needs. So understand, because if someone says, I want to go somewhere hot, now you're going to spend days looking for somewhere. So it's really sitting down. What I call it is a blank sheet of paper. So the first thing I'm going to do, Stephanie, is we're going to sit and we're going to talk. All right, and I'm going to listen to you because I want to know, really want to understand what it is you want from this holiday. I want to know how you want to feel. I want to know what's important to you. And I want to know what you won't compromise on. And what I also want to know is what you want to spend. So if you really, the more you understand what they want, then if you can match or exceed what they want, then that will help with the close. So that's really, you're working on the close at the beginning. Another key area is giving too much choice. Too much choice. So people say choice sells, variety confuses. So if you give someone 7 or 8 or 9, 10 different options, they won't buy any. If you give someone 2 or 1, they're more likely to buy. And then the third key one for me is being afraid of no, is being afraid to ask. And so many people are great. They can establish needs. They'll do a proposal and then they'll just email it and leave it. So that the sales flow breaks down. So, and that sort of links in with what I call pipeline management. So if you're working on a CRM, know what's on your desk, the value of the potential business. And then the last one really is dealing with objections. So if someone says no, it's not no, never. It means something isn't quite right with the proposal. So then it's identifying how can we compromise, how can we fix, rather than reducing the price.
No, that's perfect.
Does that help?
That does.
All for the
Yes.
price of one.
I know that we
Yeah.
could, we could probably make that one even go on its own, hour long.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole separate conference. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So my last question here for you, and
Yeah.
everyone's saying they're like, great advice. It's awesome.
Yeah, good.
Last question is, we've kind of already been talking about this, but what are you most excited for in the next 12, 24 plus months of travel? Like what is, and how are you preparing or recommending people prepare for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, well, what I'm seeing is that because people haven't traveled, people are going to have more holidays. So I think if someone goes away a couple of times a year, I think they're going to travel more. And secondly, I think they're going to travel better. So I think that's what I think. It's going back to how the industry used to be and really focusing on why, because I think we lost sight, but take the pandemic out of it. I think the industry had really lost sight of why we're here in the industry. And it really is helping people experience the world. And I think if you look at it like that, so I think people are traveling more and they'll want to travel to different places. So what we're looking forward to is giving people that real advice about where to go and what to do. As I say, spending the kids' inheritance.
Spending the kids in.
It's a ski holiday, spending the kids' inheritance.
What? Nice.
There you
I've
go.
never heard that before.
Yeah. No, I only heard about it this morning, actually. Someone said it to me on a webinar this morning, and spending the kids' inheritance. But I think it's going back to why we were in travel, really enjoying the product, experiencing and traveling ourselves, but also really getting close to our customers so that they stay with you. Yeah. And they don't go off. And I think that's how businesses will grow, by really working on customer retention, customer experience. So they come back and they tell all their friends.
Yeah, it just kind of made me think of something that's almost kind of like we're working with a little bit of a clean slate because, so
Totally.
many people, are starting to. So you want to be grabbing their attention
Yeah.
now, and then
Yeah.
that welcome home call, after. So
Totally.
keep it
It's
going.
a detox. I think everyone's had a detox, families, customers, and the industry. I think a detox is a great way to look at it. Not a nice detox for a lot of people, but as an industry, I think, it's been a wake up call.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, this is so helpful, so great, motivating,
Cool.
and
Good.
so many nuggets of information. So I just want to thank
Cool.
you so much again. Thank you so much for
Great to
spending
be here,
time.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Really enjoyed it again, as ever. And hopefully you'll invite me back again one day.
Oh, absolutely. We love having you on, Dave. So thank you
Good
so
stuff.
much. And thank you
That's all
everybody
right.
too for listening. And
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Great luck to you all. And be brave.
yes, I love that. Be brave. We will end on that. It's perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks. See ya.
See you later. Bye.